Hello, welcome everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're watching this from. Today we have a very exciting new episode with my fellow content creator Sushant Pradhan from News Nonsense and More, and Mike, who is also from the same channel. And these guys are doing amazing work, guys. I'll link their channel somewhere in the screen. Go check them out. But wait, not just yet. First, finish this video. Having said that, I will straightway go into introducing my fellow content creator here. The floor is yours.
Hey, thanks for having us on your channel. Glad to be on Facts and Opinion. I know last time when you came on our coding channel, it was really, really fun. I think we had a really good time on our channel. It's called News Nonsense and More. So I'm one of your co-hosts there, Shushant Pradhan, and Mike, who is our other co-host, whom you guys will never see. He's just a big question mark because that's how I want it to be happen. But yeah, thanks for having us on your channel. Yeah. So what do you think we should go with first?
Let's dive into our first story of the day.
It's huge, huge tragedy today with the Air India Dreamliner crash. Over 240 people have lost their lives, along with people on the ground, because right after takeoff, it seems like the plane did not catch any altitude. And unfortunately, it is a devastating news that 240 passengers lost their lives with the Boeing Air Dreamliner. This is the first incident after the last crash, which was back in 2020. And condolences and thoughts and prayers to all of the family members who lost their lives and their families and everybody on the ground as well. We'll get more update as to what to actually happened. But for now, the news will pretty much come forward. So we just want to take this moment to really give our condolences to them.
Really unfortunate what happened, losing that many people on an air crash. Thoughts and prayers to the families, thoughts and prayers to the deceased. Hopefully they are in the better place.
Yeah,
Now, that's all we can
yeah, we
say
can
on
see.
that topic, and there is not much we can go into today, except I know there will be investigations as to what happened, and we'll get to know more as this story develops. We'll be covering that in possibly both of our channels regarding what happened. That's really tragic, really unfortunate, and hopefully civil aviation gets better. I think recently, lately, the news has not been optimistic. It has been some gloom and doom there.
Too much of it. But let's go to our next topic for the day, which is pretty spicy. So, Mike, what do you have next?
So we have the Israel strikes Iran, nuclear sites and military chiefs. US denies any role.
So, if you guys thought we'd be doing optimistic stories after that one, I think this one, in the grand scheme of things, is going to have more coverage in the coming days. Not just because these are countries involved, but because there will be, hopefully
Lost.
not, but most likely more lives lost. And that we already have unconfirmed news just yet that the Iran's Revolutionary Guard chief has also been taken victim of this attack by Israel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so alongside there are other top nuclear scientists, other top military personnel who might have also died. These are based on Israeli news, and there is also some coverage by Iranian media. There is not yet, as of our recording, that confirmation from Iran's government or the Iran's military. So that's not confirmed from their side, but their state media is already covering that. So Dai, how did we get here?
Man, where to begin? So let's go back up to 2016, Trump's first term. When Obama was president, we had the Iranian nuclear deal, right?
Mhm.
Where
The
they were giving up
JCPOA.
their, yeah, exactly. Gave up their nuclear weapons, or they at least allowed UN, individuals or committee members in periodically to check what they were doing. And during that time, whatever assets we have seized of theirs, of their money that they had, any Iranian assets, we had giving it back to them. So that was a core part of the deal. It was supposed to open up the markets for Iran as well with oil, and it kind of help them in. We may not agree with Iran's government and their politics and
Right.
how they might be, but I don't think we or anybody has the right to go there and attack them first at this point in time. So yes, so first things first is we got out of the deal, and then I would also blame Biden for not redoing the deal. Let's not only blame Trump.
Sure.
Biden had an opportunity those 4 years to create a unilateral agreement with Iran and create a new deal that would have maybe helped in a way, but that didn't happen. And now you have Netanyahu, who is, you already know what he's doing, and he's already been wanting to war. It's kind of pushing the US to war, which I don't want. If Israel wants to fight that war, go for it, but I don't want any US taxpayers. That's just my personal opinion. But with that being said, Trump and the US had a certain agreement or a meeting which was planned before this attack, and Netanyahu pretty much went and attacked and is utilizing the same tactics from the Bush era when the US attacked Iraq, saying that it's a preemptive strike to weapons of mass destruction.
Mhm.
So you have a situation here that Israel has attacked Iran as a preemptive strike using the same talking points from the Bush era
Mhm.
when we attacked Iraq,
Mhm.
saying that weapons of mass destruction without any proof.
Right.
And the whole world is watching. And Marco Rubio has said that the US is not a part of this,
Okay.
but insider reportings from what I've heard and what I've read is that the green light was given, but we will know more to come as the days go by. It's an unfortunate event. It is disgusting. It's just, for me, it's about the innocent lives that will be lost
Yeah.
as collateral damage.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime there happens war, the people that suffer the most are the innocent, the one who have nothing to do with the war, that have nothing to say in the war, whether they're fighting or not. And it hurts the unfortunate people the most, the poor people who do not have shelter, those who cannot afford any food in day-to-day basis. Those are the ones that suffer the most. So war, no matter where it happens, how it happens, it should not have any place in this earth. But that's not the world we're living in. We're living in the real world. So I'd love to live in the ideal world where there is no war, but this is the real world where war happens. So what can we do? We can talk about how we got there, learn from history, and hopefully inform others on the history, so that there is more pressure whenever somebody is planning to do these kind of war. There's more pressure on them to not do it as much as possible. So to go into how we got here, JCPOA was, or it's popularly known as Iran nuclear deal, was signed during Obama administration, which essentially said we would lift sanctions. The Western countries, EU, including US, UK, other rich Western countries, said we would uplift sanction if you will not pursue the nuclear weapons, the weapons of
Mhm.
mass destruction. And that was to keep the Middle Eastern region, which has already been so much unstable for thousands of years now, to be honest. That was one attempt to make it less unstable. But as soon as Trump came into the White House in 2017, he wanted to get rid of it because it had the Obama legacy on it. I think that's why he also wanted to get rid of Obamacare. John McCain famously stopped it. JCPOA was one of such agreements that Obama had done very successfully, mind you. And then Trump ripped it off without. I mean, it would be okay if you have any better plans to rip a agreement up and then propose it with even better one. But they said they would have one, but they do not. They did not have it. And they still do not have it. And to bring back to your point about Biden, I understand we cannot give him a pass. He should have been able to use US's leverage across the world to get this deal done. But by then, by 2021, Iran had already developed so much enriched uranium, which is the raw material that they need to make the bomb. It
Mhm.
was a lot more developed by when Biden was there. So they were closer to the nuclear weapon. So it was much harder to do the deal. And then they also moved closer to Russia and Iran. So global geopolitics are always very complex. There is no easy way to do it. Having
Mhm.
said that, I think Democrats have always been too scared to use the US muscle across, not military muscle, but use the power that they have, the soft power, the hard power that they have to get the
Mhm.
deals done across the world. And Trump, to his credit, seems to be wanting to use that power, but he is finding out more and more day by day that it's harder to do these kind of deals without any proper diplomacy. There needs to be some give and take. There needs to be some concession from you if you want to get some deal done. So you can see that in Ukraine, Russia. You saw that with Gaza ceasefire that broke down in matter of weeks. And this one, he went there, he sent his envoy to do the nuclear deal, but then the Iran is close to 60% enriched uranium, which is close to weapons level. It's confirmed by International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, which are the independent watchdogs that look at nuclear armament across the world. And they have said JCPOA was efficient in that they had the access to view all the Iran's nuclear places to see that they are not enriching it beyond 3%. So 3% is only you can make power plants with that kind of power. You do not make weapons. 60% is where you make weapons, and they're really close to 60% is what the inspectors of the world say regarding this.
Yeah, I mean, I get all that point, and you do that. Those are valid points because it's so far gone, right? So think about the damage that happened by ripping up that agreement.
Hmm.
Trump doing that set us back so much that was a detriment to Biden. But I'm not going to give him a pass
No,
because
no, definitely not.
the same country that is, I'm going to say it, they're doing a genocide, right? They're
Yeah.
doing a genocide is the one that's provoking a new war. I mean,
Hmm.
there's no
Yes.
reason,
Yes.
right? At this point in time, if I had to use their logic, then Iran has a right to defend itself too,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
At this point in time.
And,
So
100%. Once you have somebody attack your homeland, you're gonna attack back. So there's no double standards in saying that. If anybody attacked a U.S. homeland, regardless of the history, U.S. would attack back, and I would want U.S. to attack back as well. So yeah, there's no double standards in saying once you're attacked on your homeland, you have all the right in the world to attack back in proportional amount. Hopefully not more than that, but who decides what's proportional is, I'll leave that to the viewers.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's an unpopular opinion of mine. People might disagree with me, but let's just be real, right? War is not detrimental to anybody.
Hmm.
It's the markets are going to crash, and if a little bit of ethics when it comes to the stock market, if you're going to decide on putting money into the military industrial complex so that way you can make a lot of money, that's what I tell them. Because at this point in time, if you do not want to enrich the people that are going to use this particular situation to enrich themselves,
Hmm.
don't buy the stocks. That is the only say that I have because at this point in time, are getting rich off of
Hmm.
other people losing their lives and innocent people losing their lives. But to go back to also what you said about if you think the US kind of knew it in advance, I think the US knew in advance. And I don't know how much we are kind of involved in this because we started pulling diplomats out of that region.
Yeah, yeah.
The US started, equipping more of air defense in that
Mhm.
Gulf, right?
Yeah.
I mean, common sense. Why would we do that? Why couldn't like Trump at that point in time tell Netanyahu, who is literally acting as if like he is stronger than Trump at this point in time? That's
He is.
the optics right now, right?
Yeah.
Netanyahu is telling Trump, we are going to attack and you're going to sit back and not do that conversation. The conversation was supposed to happen this Sunday. Didn't even give him time to do that. So who looks weak is my point, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I don't know. I think it could be that Trump knew and he let it happen, or it could be that Netanyahu is going rogue and he's probably going to push Trump in a corner and having Trump to respond. So I don't know. Your thoughts?
So yeah, a few things here. International inspectors, the International Atomic Energy Agency, they had mentioned that if the Iran nuclear deal that the Trump is pursuing right now is not reached within days, then Iran might be ready with a nuclear weapon in the matter of weeks. So that's one of the fear that I think US, other countries in the West, and also Israel shared, that if we cannot get Iran to sign this deal right now, then they might be ready with nuclear weapon, which is very scary for everybody, right?
Yeah, I totally understand that. But like I said, then why does Israel get to have nuclear weapons? If
Okay.
you're going to bully a nation consistently, because technically, if you think about the history, Israel and Iran have never been at war. Israel is the only one who's saying, oh, Iran funds Hezbollah, so on and so forth. You still need to have proof. Can't go there and be like someone bullies me and you go beat them up. You'll still go to jail, right? If you're in the United States of America. So international law, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem it from a. I'm talking as a normal person who's looking at the news and asking questions as to why. Because why is the type of question we need to ask. But the news obviously will say more if we go more into it.
It is widely believed that Israel possess nuclear weapons. They have it. They probably do have it. Is the widespread belief? Yeah, it's not confirmed
And it
news.
can have from 90 warheads to up to potentially 300 nuclear weapons. So
Then why the double standards in my point of view? If I'm going to be a person in the United States of America where my tax dollars are going to
Hmm.
fund another government and their security and then give them nuclear weapons, but then turn around and then the same government saying, hey, you can't have nuclear weapons, it doesn't make sense. Yes, I don't want both of them to have nuclear weapons. In fact, that's my stand. Israel shouldn't have nuclear weapons,
Yeah.
and neither Iran should have nuclear weapons.
So, yeah, to that point, I think the rationale behind the West allowing Israel to have that power is because they think Israel is a small country in the Middle Eastern region where they're surrounded by potential enemies, like they have Houthis, they have Hezbollah, they have then Hamas on the other side, and they have Iran. There was not a proper diplomatic relation between UAE and Saudi Arabia with Israel. So there's this rationale that the West always gives, that because this is a Jewish state that have been persecuted for a long time, for centuries and centuries, they gotta have this nuclear weapon
Yeah.
to be safe from their neighbors. But yeah, this is not the argument I'm making. This is the argument that they will probably
Oh
give it
yeah,
to you.
absolutely. I mean, I've heard that argument so
Yeah,
many
yeah,
times, but history, it depends on the people watching this or people who talk about this. What side of history will you be on? Because
yeah.
now look at who's attacking who.
So this
So
this
I think
this is
yeah, go
a
ahead.
sorry, yeah, this is a 10,000 years old history, and we're not gonna resolve this in this short video for sure. There's so much nuance, there's so much of whataboutism there, that we
Mhm.
could go back to 10,000 years and we'd still not be able to find out what who is the right in this story, right? Let's not get there, but the point is there's a war that has broken out in the Middle East yet again, and this is potentially a big one because this involves a state. So Iran had fought indirectly with Israel for a long time. It was proxy war. They had never been involved
Mhm.
directly, but now this is not proxy war. This is actual war
Actual. Do you
that's
think
ready.
Iran will retaliate?
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that Iran will retaliate. I think they will. They most likely will. I mean, at this point, either they surrender and say, "Okay, take my country. I don't want to do anything," or they retaliate. Right? They're not left with any option because their IGRC, that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, the chief is killed. That's the highest military position in that country.
It seems like they attacked one, two, three, four, five, six different places. So that's where I was just looking at reporting a map box, and it just seems like I think even Turkey, right, was spoke about, hey, don't attack and stuff like that. So I'm kind of curious to see what Turkey will do.
I think I have a quote from Secretary of State of the US, Marco Rubio. I'm quoting him. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We're not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its defense, for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel. So that's the Secretary of State of the US, Marco Rubio.
See,
Funny
that's what
thing,
I'm afraid of. Like, I'm afraid of. I'm sorry, just one my point. What I'm afraid of is Iran retaliates, and then someone says U.S. soldiers were killed, and then U.S. is back in this. U.S. is like and gives an entry for the war. I don't want a war. I don't want to like have taxpayer money. We're already in a deficit as it is,
Yeah.
and to go on another war, it doesn't make sense. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I think if
Anybody
there's
listening, do not buy war stocks.
please do not. I think there invariably US will be funding the war. That's not beyond our control, but I hope American men and women, boys and girls, will not be sent to this war that might again go for decades. I hope we have learned our lesson from Vietnam, from Afghanistan, from Iraq war, so on. Yeah, there's so much lesson to learn with the history that yeah, this does not bode well for our men and women in uniform.
Just for the record, 20 years in Afghanistan only to give it back to Taliban. Let that sink in.
Do not send American lives. Please do not send. It's not worth it. It will never be worth it. Send our dollars. That's beyond our control. We already paid it as a tax. But please do not send our men and women.
I
That's
mean,
my
if
thought.
if people wanted to go and defend Israel and stuff like that, people who support it, I mean, you if you guys just keep yapping so much and sending the soldiers, young 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds to fight a war because of your belief, I
Mhm.
think those people should go.
Yeah, if you want to,
I'm just ranting about this, but it's just frustrating.
yeah, I
the
know, I
funny
get
thing,
it.
the funny thing is, Trump was aiming for a Nobel Peace Prize by Russia and Ukraine to peace, and India and Pakistan to peace. But one of his most like favorite allies goes like war, like into war, and can start
Yeah,
a like
I don't
chain reaction over there. So that's really dangerous, and this is more dangerous than the other ones because it can start a chain reaction. Other like countries around there
exactly.
can join in.
Trump can want what he wants. That's his prerogative. But he does not have the nuances. He does not understand where people are coming from to be able to do the deals that he needs to get them. The countries that have been fighting for years, centuries, India, Pakistan have been fighting for decades now.
Yeah.
Palestine issue has been there for centuries, right? It's not easy as he says, because think about it. He's the guy who circumvented the drafting of the Vietnam War. He did not go. He does
Exactly.
not understand what it means to fight for the country. People love their country, right? He does not understand that the four-star generals have called that he calls the men and women who died for the country losers.
Mhm.
He calls prisoners of wars losers. He does not understand that bit. He does not it's all about deal making for him. He thinks
Yeah.
if everybody's making money, why don't we, all of us should be making money? Let's go for the net positive. But then people do not think in monetary terms, especially from people in different regions. They have a lot more love to their country. They do not think in monetary terms about the
Yeah.
value of the life. So
And war
Yeah.
war
No,
always sets back humanity, like we are
yes.
always at
yeah.
constant war, so the loss of human lives, it brings innovation. Like World War II brought a lot of innovations, and from the past, like bringing like those dynamite and those has brought
Mhm.
innovations, but it sets back humanity a lot more back. So if these kinds of wars goes on, we are just like going backwards towards the Stone Age or something.
I mean,
That's what
that's all there, right? This is something I want to speak to most of the people that voted for Trump, like MAGA people, right? One of the talking points that I heard during the time is, oh, he didn't start any new wars during his first term. No new wars during his first term, right? That's what a lot of people said.
Hmm.
But people forget the fact that drone strikes went up in his first term.
Hmm.
He dropped a Moab in Afghanistan. And Moab means mother of all bombs. No new wars. And now we have what was the Russia and Ukraine conflict would be stopped within the first week? Yeah, definitely stopped, right? What's ever happening in Gaza, you know what he said about those that and his people is still happening. They're actually being starved right now, right? And now you have Israel attacking Iran. New war by our closest ally. And my thing is, if Israel wants to go to war, let Israel go to war. I don't want the U.S. to be involved in this, right? Let them duke it up because Netanyahu, he absolutely needs to go to jail. He's a detriment to his own country.
I mean, the International Court of Justice, the judges there, they did actually put his name in the warrant. It is he's convicted by the ICJ and ICC, so it's not even just your opinion. It is what the International Court of Justice have decided, have said they should do. Yeah, bringing back to the point of not starting any war. I think because US moved its embassy to Jerusalem in his first term, it's one of the direct reasons that the war is going on in Gaza right now. I'm not exaggerating this. It has been widely discussed in the public forum that that was one of the most devastating decisions US could have made. They were strategically ambiguous in that region, but then Trump went, no, 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 Jerusalem, we're going to put our embassy there. It's the
Mhm.
capital of Israel. The capital of Israel
I
is Tel Aviv.
one
mean,
question to
we
you
can
guys because you guys have information. So
sure
without the US helping Israel in providing like different warheads and different type of military goods and equipment, can
money.
Israel like fight with those countries over there like Iran and Iraq
Yes.
and
So 100%, I think so. Because I've been doing a lot of reading on this. Israeli militia is thought to be one of the best, one of the most modern, not just in that region, but in the world. And the fact is, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they are as rich as they are. Their military is not worth the salt. And they're really fighting just Iran right now. And Iran had this satellite of proxy terrorists like Hamas, Hezbollah, and
Mhm.
Houthis that they were funding, and they were keeping the deterrence against Israel. But Israel bombed all of those, and they're severely weakened. They don't even have hold of their respective countries right now, let alone
Yeah.
attacking Israel, right? So since because those were lost, Iran wanted to ramp up its nuclear capability. That was one of the reasons that they were pushing harder and harder in the recent years. And I think they were in the matter of weeks away from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
I'm
So
talking more about like resources like that gets provided to Israel. I know the military is well trained, the
it is.
tactics is well trained, but more talking about the Israel. I feel sorry for them. They're in the middle of lots of enemies, right? So
Mhm.
that's why these European nations and US try to help them. I get that, but without the resources from European nations and only with their military like tactics and people who are trained in this military, I don't think it's that easy because of the number of people that are there. So
Now, this depends
So
on if. Sorry, let me complete this one.
yeah, good.
So it depends on if Iran would be getting help from Russia and China, because they have been moving closer, and there's is called a marriage of convenience. There's no ideology that it's bringing them closer. It just they can, because they're sanctioned by different states, they can trade against each other, which is why they're coming together and put North Korea in the mix as well. So if those countries come in to help Iran, then it will be hard for Israel against all of them alone. There's no doubt
Hmm.
about it. But if it's just Iran and Israel, I think Israel has modernized its economy. It is really one of the, it's a capitalistic society there. It
Hmm.
is rich. It has its own manufacturing base. It has its own service industry that it exports to the other parts of the world. It is really self sufficient in that respect. So, yeah, if it's only those two nations, then I'd have to give edge to Israel.
I
I
heard
mean,
like they
I
are
mean,
like
at,
even agriculturally self-sufficient over there because they grew like all the necessary food supplies in their own land, even though it was like non-producible, right? Israel.
I mean, yeah, I mean, when you're getting funding and money from U.S. taxpayers, right? I think the ability to modern and get your country up to date is a lot easier. Let's be real, right? But yes, Israel does have the Iron Dome. They have all the equipment, all the resources they need. They have the planes. They have everything, and that's because it's been funded a lot by Western countries and especially the U.S. That's how it is, and that's how it always is. So, like with that being said, at this point in time, it does look kind of bad for Iran, but I'm curious what the other countries will do because I think Iran also supplies a lot of like resources to Russia back and forth and Korea, right? North Korea, which is again, that's the worst thing. I mean, that for me, this is like a recipe for World War III. That's the only thing I can think of at this point in time. It's like a recipe of World War III, and it's pretty much coming to a point where you are forcing countries to use nuclear weapons attacking. We're saying we're doing it out of defense, but defense is only after you get attacked. So I don't understand the logic behind it. Technology has gotten better. People see TikTok. People like this kind of actions is much more detrimental to Israel as itself as a country because the world population is viewing them in a very negative manner. Before I remember in the 90s and early 2000s, everybody was like, "Oh my god, Israel." Like what you said, Israel is between all these countries, poor country. Look at what's happening to them. I remember all those talking points during that time. But now all of that has shifted. I mean, they're openly, if you go on social media, TikTok, and when you bring this, the Palestinian, the Gaza situation, now this,
Oh
people
yes.
are openly talking against Israel at this
Yeah.
point in time. Openly. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
detrimental towards them.
yeah, it's not a hidden fact that they are literally occupying the Palestinian state, the Gaza, the West
And
Bank.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's not just the occupation, it's the way that they're doing it. They are hurting people, they are killing people, they are now depriving them from food.
it's
And like I
crazy.
said, ICJ has already convicted Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant as war criminals, right? I do agree with that court finding by the ICJ. They are war criminals. But yeah,
But
this.
just something to add to that, right? I was watching this article from Secular Talk, Kyle
Mhm.
Kaczynski, right? He was talking about he talked about something that was kind of like unspoken thing about Israel. They did a poll study. I think I'm going to share that article with you guys so you can take a look at it. And I recommend people to go and watch Kyle Kaczynski's Secular Talk. I get most of my news from him. Amazing person, independent as well. He said that there was independent polling done in Israel about what the citizens thought about if there are any innocent people in Gaza. Even the centrist, forget about the right wing,
Zionist.
62% of the population in Israel think there's no innocent people in Gaza.
Oh, that's sad.
So, and I don't even blame them because if you've seen documentaries about how they're indoctrinated,
Yeah, I'm sure there is propaganda.
Oh
That's
yeah,
just
it's
cultural
on
hate,
another
you know.
level.
That's just culture. They don't like those.
No, no, no. I don't think it's about culture at this point in time, Mike. I think it's about how you indoctrinate people. You're not born hateful, right? I have Jewish friends. I know Jewish people. I know Norman Finkelstein is a huge like activist for the Palestinian side, and he's Jewish,
Oh
and he
yes,
had
there are so many of
family.
those.
Yeah, there's his family was in the Holocaust. He lost family members in the Holocaust, and he speaks against Israel, and he's Jewish. There's so many Jewish people that understand this as it being wrong, right? No one is born to hate other people. Hate
No.
can only be taught, or you're indoctrinated in such a way where you're taught that this is the way of the land and this is how it is. Imagine being born in 2020 or 2010 and believing a piece of land in that region is yours because ancestors from like 10,000 years ago once lived there. Imagine that happened to if Israel said like I had my grandparents who were German Jewish and that house belongs to me and they went and attacked Germany to get their land back or that business back or their property back of what happened in 1942 World War II. Do you think that would they would just be like, hey, okay, fine, come and take it? Is that what they would do at this point in time? They wouldn't. Common sense needs to prevail. And I know we're talking a lot about this, and I
Yeah.
know the news will keep going on.
I think before we go to the next topic, Pawan, do you want to say something for the closing statements for this report?
Yeah, I think Sushandai added so much emotion to it. I think we should leave it there because it was pure emotions, raw emotion coming through. I could see him passionate about it. And yeah, I do want to conclude it at that.
So let's go to the next topic. Trump ordered to return control of California National Guard to governor.
You want to take this because I think I'll just laugh.
So
I
yeah,
think
let's talk about this. My channel has been covering this Trump's actions in the homeland. He is pushing over boundaries, he is bulldozing norms, he's bulldozing constitutions, even he is just doing what he can, just doing what he wants to. And I think courts, the justice system, the judges, the judiciary has been a good check on him. At least the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case comes to mind. We did a recent coverage on this. I'll put a link
yeah.
somewhere. Go watch it if you haven't. I think that because the judge ordered them back, they eventually, after a months long fight from his family, they brought him back. Oh, okay. So I guess we're going to do this. Hi, Editor Pawan here. We recorded this episode in June 12th, late night in June 12th on Thursday when the decision had just come from US District Court Judge Charles Breyer, who said Trump's federalization of those 4,000 troops, National Guard troops, was unconstitutional, and he had ordered that the command of those forces be returned to California Governor Gavin Newsom by noon of June 13th, the next day. But as is their right, the Trump administration appealed the decision in a higher federal court, and the Ninth Circuit panel of three judges, two Trump nominated and one Biden nominated, put a hold in the lower court ruling, saying they would do further hearing on June 17th to further examine the constitutional and statutory questions involved, and the command of the National Guard has been returned to the president. My happiness here was short lived because of this decision, but I'm sure the legality and constitutionality of this will be argued in court, and it will most likely will also go to the Supreme Court. So there will be lengthy litigation on this, but the legality of this decision is not even in question here. It's more of the ethical and moral question that we were discussing. So I think video is still very much relevant despite this Ninth Circuit Court's order to return the command to the president. And I think this here is another hopeful loss that the Trump administration endured, because presidents should not go over the governor, federalized National Guard, and use it in the inside the US. Yeah, go ahead, federalize National Guard and take them away from the nation. That's your choice as the president of the country. You have the entire say on the foreign policy, but we are in a federal system. States do have rights, governor have rights. You cannot use National Guard against peaceful protesters. Let's be honest, those were largely peaceful protesters. There were some elements that was not peaceful, and I absolutely condemn those violent protests, but those were in small numbers, and we they LA has police, right? Does it not? LA has
Mhm.
police, and they literally said, we got this, we can control this, you do not need to federalize any national guard to send them over here.
Mhm.
And he did not heed any of those suggestions from governor, from the LA police chief. And then he just straight away went into the most escalatory step that a president could have taken against a peaceful protest, people exercising their First Amendment right.
You have a right to protest in this country. You have a right of free speech. Just letting you know. And obviously, as most right wingers, again, I have friends who are Republicans, and a couple of them are MAGA people, but I question them, right? Because they say they're constitutionalist, right? So anybody listening to this, if you're a constitutionalist, right, I'm pretty sure you should, agree with the First Amendment. You have a right to protest, freedom of speech. That's there. And just to go back on why the judge even ruled that way was because of the 10th Amendment. I mean, people who try to argue this, either you argue this because you're not a constitutionalist, or you just want parts of the Constitution to only go on your side. Because if you want to change a couple of the Constitution on here and there, then you're giving your opposition the ability to change the Second Amendment or the Third Amendment or the right to bear arms
Hmm.
amendment, right? Which is a favorite in that side,
It is.
right? It doesn't make sense. And again, to federalize it, it's just a show of power. He wanted to show that I'm powerful and this and that. I think Governor Newsom, he's experienced. He knows. I mean, is he the best Democrat out there? No, he's a centrist. Let's be real. He's not a progressive. He knows how to play the part, and he is killing it at the moment. Obviously, because he wants to run for president in the next 4 years
He's
as
looking
well.
presidential. Yeah,
Yeah, he looks presidential. He's As a
he's
governor,
looking.
he looks more presidential, right? His
Mhm.
kicks and everything. But let's be real. I'll also call him out. He is not the greatest of governors. He is a centrist. He is taking money from donors. But in this particular scenario, he is doing the right thing, and I think he came off looking very, very well.
Oh
I
yeah.
think they knew exactly what to how to do the when he said like we are filing a case against Trump and the administration. I think he knew automatically they violated the 10th Amendment, right? And when you go against the Constitution, how are you going to win?
So last time it happened when a president federalized National Guard without the governor say so was in 1965, I believe. It was Lyndon B. Johnson,
Mm,
and it was during the civil rights
civil rights
movement.
movement. Yep.
And it was he did it to protect the civil civil right activists, the protesters who were looking to desegregate schools. They were wanting to go to desegregated schools as per the Supreme Court decision, Brown versus the board. It's a famous Supreme Court case that if you haven't, you should look it up. That's how we had this desegregated the schools, where it was before it was just white school and
Yeah.
black school.
Color.
And that decision, it overturned it, and it took few years to actually put it into place. But then LBJ, he went against the governor who did not want. He was one of the southern governors. I think it was
Yeah.
Alabama, if my memory serves me right. But that was the last time it happened, and he did it to hold the rule of law with Brown versus Board, a Supreme
Yeah.
Court decision, and that was welcomed by everybody.
I
I
mean,
mean,
think
not
think about it,
not
right?
everybody, but reasonable people.
Just just by what you're saying, just think about it, right? The last time this was to make the America a better place, to desegregate,
Yes.
to not only have and just for the viewers that they don't understand, back in the 60s, this is not too long ago, back in the 60s there were whites only school and coloreds only school.
Yeah.
If nothing had changed, that means your kids or immigrant kids would go to colored only schools,
Mhm.
white kids would be only in white schools. Okay, he used that to help desegregate, meaning that no schools, you cannot differentiate by race,
Yeah.
everybody has to be mixed. And he went against the governor to make it better, do the right thing.
He did
now
the
over
right
here
thing.
now over here it's being used for the wrong thing. And I think there was this a passionate speech by some actor's son, or I forgot what it was, I was seeing it online, that he was asking these people to what side of history do you choose to be on. I think that
All
were
right.
powerful speeches that he said, like, is this what you want to do? Is this how you want to be remembered?
Mhm.
Is this a side of history you want to be remembered as? I think questioning your moral compass at that point in time, which I feel like most people who voted for him don't have a moral compass. They just pretend to have one, unless it happens to them.
Those who voted for the third time, Yeah, I think you should
Absolutely.
question yourself. I mean, if you're not in a cult, please do question yourself, right? Why did you vote this person back to January 6, 2021, who openly said, I do not believe your votes should matter, even though you voted or maybe not voted for me, the entire nation did not vote for him. He said, I do not care, I'm gonna take it by force. It was only Mike Pence and his spine that saved all of us from
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, US, you can do one thing. You can go hard right on the one administration, you can go hard left on the next administration, right? These things can happen. But where I draw the line is the handover of power. If come 4 year, if you're not ready to leave, if the constitution does not allow you to, or you lost the election, then you should leave. You should leave with grace, let's put it that way. You should
Hmm.
hopefully be a graceful loser at that point. And he openly disregarded everything that the constitutionalists, like you said, held close to their heart, right? The peaceful transfer of power is what makes America America. This guy, he obliterated that, and also people voted him for the third time in such high numbers. That surprises me on so many different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I have one question for most of the people who vote for him, right? You'll sit there and you'll like argue with January 6th insurgents, right? And you will not want to use the guard, the state
Back
guard
then,
were not
yeah,
used back then, right?
even
But
then,
then you
yes,
want to use it because people are unhappy about how you're deporting kids. How does that doesn't make sense, right? Overall.
mhm,
But ultimately, what I think, in this particular situation is it's a power grab.
it is.
He hasn't really done well. Most of the stuff that he has done has come back and gone to square one. Even the tariff with China went up to like I don't know 250%. I don't know how much. Like 140, 150. It's back down to the same 10% that it was like in the beginning of his term.
Out of the
It's
deal.
yeah, I know, right? I don't understand. But
So
like
I
the
think
people who voted, but sorry, just I'll
yeah,
finish this real quick. But the people who voted for him, if you do not want to look at facts and you just treat this as a sport, like
yeah,
your red team is winning over the blue team, it's not sports. This is real life. Like you have to have a middle ground in certain things. Nothing is going to be perfect. There'll be certain things that you'll agree with, certain things you disagree with. But
yeah.
I think it's important for you guys to kind of pick the ones which will benefit you overall instead of how it'll make you feel, because how you feel about winning will be very different when you start feeling the hurt. FAFO. So just putting it out there. Go
Mhm.
ahead, Pavan. I think I'm kind of done with this topic as well. Let's
Yeah,
expand.
I'll put a few things in context with this news. I'll give few reasons why I think he did this. One is purely like you said, power grab. He wanted to show who the real boss is to Gavin Newsom. Imagine if this had been in any other state other than California, then I think this would not have escalated so quickly. That's probably one thing. Second, I think is the what were we talking about last week? It was Musk versus Trump and Musk's accusations that Trump is in Epstein files, right? And then what happened? Congress people, they just came out against the big, beautiful bill. And then what this did was completely took over the news cycle. It's everything that everybody can talk about right now. It's the
Mhm.
federalization of National Guard. I mean, it came for him in just in time to put other things on the news rather than his and Epstein's link. Which, to be honest, there's so many pictures and videos there that I don't think anybody needs to. It needs to be a rocket scientist to put two and two together and
Yeah.
call it a four. And the other is culture war. It's all about culture war, right? It
Mhm.
brings us back to the earlier point of it being in California. If it happened in any other state, this would not go that far. This culture war. Everything that happens with currently in this political atmosphere will come back to culture war. And I'll have to point out and say some protesters are not doing themselves a favor by playing directly into his hands. He
Mhm.
wants he wants the pretext to use any power he can, Palestinian or Mexican flags, and then dancing on top of a burning Waymo car is probably not a sign of peaceful protest that you would want to do. But then this should not give him a reason to federalize the National Guard. This could have been easily taken care of by the police there.
I mean, just I just want to add something to that is when sports teams win big in that city.
Yeah, that happens there.
That's why I'll debunk that. Anybody who will like argue or debate me, I will debunk that in
Mhm.
2 seconds. So when so it's okay when your sport teams, which is a private owned entity, team wins and people go out in the streets and burn cars and all that stuff. Listen, I'm speaking, I'm for all three of us, we don't condone violence. People who loot need to be sent to jail.
Yes.
Just like how people come illegal in this country need to be deported. It's not like we want all of them here.
Yep.
I'm very conservative when it comes to people ruining other people's businesses and livelihoods. They need to go to jail. But don't paint entire protesters who are doing it peacefully as if they're the same as those
Oh yeah.
5 to 3%
No.
of the population.
Sure. Yep.
That's it.
100%. There is peaceful protest. That's our constitutional right, and that has to be done. I think there are a few more protests across the country. I think tomorrow, day after tomorrow, that
Hmm.
calls "No More King" or "No King" in the U.S. Right? It's a direct protest against how the Trump administration is using king-like authoritarianism to execute his executive power that's not given even by the Constitution. Yeah, I'll bring you back saying that Biden administration, Obama's administration did more deportations than Trump has done, and they
Exactly.
all got their day in the court. That's all we are asking for as well. Let them see a judge. Let the judge be the judge of whether they are illegally, whether the papers are in place, whether they would suffer if they were sent back to their country, if their life is in danger. You do not want innocent people to be sent back to their country and they being persecuted or killed over there. There are legit concerns. There are legit people who seek asylum in this country because America said this, where the lady with the liberty, and you can
Hmm.
come here if you really fear for your life, right? That's what
Hmm.
America said to the people, to everybody. And the second part of this is people who come here illegally, they do not come to become billionaires. They come here only to live day to day, not even paycheck to paycheck. They live day by day. They go on a daily wage. They pick up jobs that are left by the US citizens, US green card holders, that they cannot do
Hmm.
high paying jobs, and even they may not even speak the language to do that. They're
Hmm.
here because US and other Western nations went there, drew some random borders across the world, and then said, okay, this is mine, and ripped off all the resources and left those countries poor.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but some. America and other Western countries do share some responsibility in that respect, and which is actually why US and other rich countries do so much benevolence across the world. They pay so much money, they do
Mhm.
donations, they do low interest loans to the countries that are underdeveloped and are developing. They do that because they understand that whatever they did across these centuries is maybe why these people are suffering, and that's out of the maybe guilt but also goodness of their heart. People who are here, they are also human beings. They live as rich life as we do, not as per money, but they have their family that they go back to. They smile at the end of the day. They do vacations sometimes, so if they can, they go out to the park and have picnics. They are people, they are human beings.
Yeah,
So
and
please treat them
I
as human beings is all we're asking.
exactly. And the thing is, it's so long that some of these people are here, and the immigration aspect of it, it's such a complex issue
It is.
because economically they are embedded into the economic system already, right? Because and I understand why people say illegal. When people start thinking illegal immigrants, they automatically think they have no papers, they are not paying taxes, they are smooching off the system, right? That those people, right, who work in cash is literally a small percentage of the undocumented people,
Oh,
because majority of the undocumented people have what's called ITIN numbers, right? Where they pay taxes, where
they
they
do.
pay, federal taxes, state taxes, they have sales tax. They even give money in payroll. A lot of these farm workers, they're
Hmm.
not gas stations where they're working in cash or like outside of Home Depot. Let's be real. They are paying their dues. They are probably mostly on. They are documented. They're paying taxes. And once that happened, what are farmers who voted for Trump or farmers complaining about? What are they complaining about, Pawan? What are you telling me?
You brought me to this nice little statistics that I have. So the 14 million immigrants that Trump and his administration keeps talking about, they make up 5% of the total workforce, 25% of agricultural workforce, 15% of construction workforce, 10% of leisure workforce, and they contribute 100 billion in taxes every year. And they are, if they all 14 millions were taken out as they want to, it would collapse the American economy. It would prices
Exactly.
would go up. There would be no labor to do the jobs that we need to do daily. The system would fall like this, and that's not even exaggeration. That's economists across the country, Nobel Prize winning economists have confirmed that it would be detrimental if we were to out
Exactly.
all the
And that's exactly
immigrants
what, and I'm glad that you brought that up because $100 billion a year in taxes.
in taxes only, in federal
In
taxes, that
social,
is. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think it's broken down into like I think 60/40 something because it's also state taxes. Remember,
Yes.
they pay on the state, they also pay state taxes, right?
Oh yeah, not in
And
Texas.
let's not even count sales tax. And when they pay rent, guess what they're also paying? Property tax, because
Mhm.
property tax is embedded into your rent, right? So they are so embedded into this system. And mind you, they do not get social security. They cannot file for any form of assistance, SNAP programs. So everything they're paying in is paying a population of people who take advantage of the SNAP programs, right? They are getting to use SNAP, and it's being funded because $100 billion is being paid every year by undocumented immigrants
Yeah.
who have ITIN numbers, and people don't realize that. But anyways,
Yeah, I think
who
so.
am I?
Yeah, as much as economic point we like to make, I think people will only start flipping when they start seeing the families that are broken apart. It's the kids in even in Trump one, it was the crying kids who were separated with their parents that broke the camel's back.
Do you really think his supporters really care about kids?
I hope so. I do believe in humanity side of them. I know a lot in the administration, like Stephen Miller. Trump himself come from a place of hatred when it comes to immigration. He literally said in the, I think, campaign, he said vermin, that they
Yeah.
poison the blood of our country. He took the phrase out of Hitler's playbook. He has said that. So I think the leaders of this movement, of MAGA movement, come from the place of hatred. But when you talk to MAGA people face to face, they're the nicest people on earth. They do not have that hatred. It's just they are being brainwashed. I really think they are brainwashed. And
I question their morality because if you're trying to justify everything that happens, I think there is something wrong with your morality. And I'm this is just me, but I know there are people who mean well, but I feel like that energy that they have can either they're misinformed out of anywhere, out of their I don't know behind. The reality is, I feel like there is a part of them that really don't care, and
I
that's what
think
that's happening.
think they're more misinformed than anything else in a lot of these things. As in, whenever they think of illegal immigrants, they think of people who are committing crimes, committing murders. There are not a lot of those. You think about it, you are a person living here illegally. You have this risk that you can be taken back to your country if you commit anything, if you're found. You would not go around committing crimes. You are the most careful
Course.
person here.
You wouldn't even drive.
Yeah, there may be some people, in, and those people are in every group. There are the worst of the worst kind. They commit crimes, commit rape, murder, and whatnot. There, those kind of people are in every group. They're in MAGA group. They're in our brown skin group. They're in any illegal immigrant group. They're in every group, right? There are worse people there. But you would have to believe. You have to have this sense of general people. Most people have good, have a good heart. They mean good. Even if they cannot do good, they mean good. That's the hope I'm having with the MAGA people. And this is why I'm also running this channel. I'm trying to do good faith argument with them. I try
Mhm.
to say, you may be wrong with this, but let's meet halfway if we can. And I engage with them in the comments, give them counterpoints if I can. I really
And
like to believe that there are good
uh,
people there.
Okay,
just for the
guys.
record, I'm talking about
Okay.
his 20% base, just to put it on the record. Not,
Okay.
I know what you're saying. I was
Mhm.
just a little bit of passion there, but it was mostly the 20% that some of the people I come across absolutely vile.
Mhm.
Okay,
But
guys.
yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
take it on, Mike.
We are almost at the end. So, any closing statements for the news that you got today or news that you shared today with the audience from both of you guys.
I'll let Pawan kind of close it out today. So, it's his channel. So I think it only makes sense.
Thank you, both of you, for coming here talking about these things with me. This is always good to talk to fellow content creators and have this kind of public forum where we talk about things. Maybe at some point we also do this live where we can talk to get
Hmm.
comments from other people so that we can see, we can interact in real time. But that's, I think, way into the future. There is not much to say in today's news per se, but in general, let's all of us be mindful of people that come to talk to us with agendas, just like Trump, who talks to you in a way that you want to listen because he wants your vote. Once he gets your donation money, he does not care about you. Just
Hmm.
listen to how he talks about everybody else. Listen to how he talked about his best friend Elon Musk, right?
Hmm.
If he actually means good to other people, to the country, he's only there for himself. And that's all I want to say today. Thank you, all of you who have stayed until this far. If you liked what we did today, do give us both subscribe, like, and do share our content with other people who might be interested with this kind of content. We do political news, we do explainers around the world, and Sushandai does nonsense and more as well. So that's his channel, News, Nonsense, and More. I'll link his channel somewhere in the description and also in this screen, so
Awesome.
you all will be able to find it easily. Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
Facts and opinions.